What is up, guys? It's Mateo's 2020 Politics here, and today I'm going to be talking about Elizabeth Warren and Michael Bloomberg dropping out of the presidential race. So I know I'm a few days late because I've been busy lately, but I'm still into politics. It's never going to end, guys. So on March 4th, Michael Bloomberg dropped out. Yeah, Michael Bloomberg, right after Super Tuesday, and then one day later, March 5th, Elizabeth Warren drops out. And her time was coming. And I've talked to Warren supporters, and even they agree that her time was coming. At least two Warren supporters did believe that her time was over and she had to drop out, and they were kind of beginning to switch her support last minute. But then she, of course, dropped out of the presidential race. Michael Bloomberg dropped out the day prior. I'm not really sure why. I think it's because of the whole idea that all the centrists must drop out and endorse Joe Biden so he can beat Bernie Sanders because we're that desperate. So that's why I think Michael Bloomberg dropped out, if there were to be a reason. But it's so strange because knowing Michael Bloomberg's personality, you wouldn't expect him to drop out because he knows that Bernie Sanders would win if he stays in the race. Like, knowing Michael Bloomberg, you'd think he wouldn't care about Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders and would just run for himself and just try to get to the convention. But what a complicated figure he is, because he decided to drop out anyway and endorse Joe Biden. Actually commit a selfless move. So props to you, but you're also helping Joe Biden, so no. Then Elizabeth Warren dropped out the day after, and I think she dropped out for a mixture of reasons. Number one, she lost her home state of Massachusetts on Super Tuesday. She got third place out of the five major candidates, four if we don't include Tulsi Gabbard. She just genuinely wasn't doing that well in contests. She never really won any states. She was getting third place a lot, fourth, fifth, but never like first or second. And my third reason for why she dropped out, in my opinion, is because she got the signal that the centrists were dropping out to help Joe Biden, so then she got the signal that she should drop out to help the progressive Bernie Sanders, because she was splitting the vote with him. And it is true, because going into Super Tuesday, there were lots of states that Bernie Sanders could have won, but Warren chipped away enough votes to the point where Joe Biden won. And it partly wasn't her fault, because many of the centrists dropping out and supporting Joe Biden gave him an upper hand on Super Tuesday because of the extra support. But if Warren weren't there, let's just be honest. If Warren weren't there, Bernie Sanders would have won Super Tuesday. He would have gotten Maine, he would have gotten Massachusetts, and Minnesota. But those states went to Joe Biden narrowly because of the vote splitting. And Michael Bloomberg and Elizabeth Warren were somewhat successful candidates. Warren was polling in fourth, fifth place at the very beginning of this presidential primary process. Then she started surging upward. She got into third, second, and at one point was even in first place for one day in October. That's when she was having her big surge. But then the whole Elizabeth Warren, how do you pay for your Medicare for All plan, and her general policy is just kind of cause people to go away from her, cause people to drift away from her, and she went down in polls, and to the point where she was in fourth place after Michael Bloomberg, of all people, and then she dropped out after Super Tuesday. So, with Michael Bloomberg's case, it's much more interesting because he actually came in later in the race. He came in like November, and all he did was like go into ads, pay for ads. He spent hundreds of millions of dollars on ads. I think it was over $700 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. So the way I like to think of it is like while all the candidates are like running down a racetrack, Michael Bloomberg is like underground digging a tunnel. He's just going his own way because all the candidates are just going to the debates, showing up at events in Iowa and all the other states. And Michael Bloomberg is just paying for advertisements. He's just doing his own thing. So he was only able to be in two debates. The first one was, of course, the better one because he was destroyed. The second one he was just a bit more boring. So overall, Michael Bloomberg, I think, is one of the few candidates who I'm not okay with their personality. So with most candidates, I'm like, fine, your personality, your policies I don't like, but your personality's okay. I'd invite you to my dinner party. Another voice crack. But with Michael Bloomberg's case, I don't think I would invite him to my dinner party. He's just cold. He doesn't really show much emotion. He isn't too friendly. He tells people to shush and let him speak at a debate. So just kind of harsh, and he seems kind of cranky, and sadly it fits the New Yorker stereotype, but clearly it's not true just by seeing me and other New Yorkers. But it is the stereotype of New York City is that one cranky guy in the middle of rush hour who's just like, hey, I'm walking here, and just, trying to get into a cab and everything. That's Michael Bloomberg right there. He's that cranky guy from Times Square. So he's the epitome of that person. And now, on to what I personally thought of them, which I kind of already delved into, I guess. So with Michael Bloomberg, I didn't like his personality, and not to say it was boring, it was interesting. Him being cold and emotional, it made me dislike him, but it made him more interesting. I didn't like his policies. He was perhaps one of the most centrist candidates. Let's not forget the fact that he is in the top 10 richest Americans, and he has tens of billions of dollars, and he was just spending all that in advertisements, taking no donations, just self-funding. So it wasn't it was the least grassroots campaign. It was not a grassroots campaign at all in his presidential race. Even Tom Steyer, I believe he took donations. He was the other billionaire in the race who dropped out after South Carolina. Even he took donations. Every candidate took donations. Because even if they didn't agree with Bernie's progressive policies, they understood this is the grassroots era. You have to fight directly for the people. And Michael Bloomberg didn't get it. He was like, I will self-fund myself. I will take no donations. I don't need your help. I'll just flood the airways with advertisements. So, yeah, that's what I thought of Michael Bloomberg. I just didn't really like his policies or the fact that he was just buying his way to the presidency, or at least trying to, and his overall personality. But he did have lots of success. That's probably because of his money. But it, brings me love to see the fact that no matter how much you spend in a presidential race, it doesn't seem to really affect you, because Michael Bloomberg spent hundreds of millions of dollars, but still ends up getting like 4th place nationally. So it shows that the voters just don't buy it anymore. That the whole I have the most money doesn't work anymore in politics. You have to be a grassroots candidate. So it brings me love to see that Michael Bloomberg didn't have too much success, because we have to admit the fact he was somewhat successful, but it does once again bring love to my heart that even with all his money, with all his advertisements, all that, he still lost the presidential race. Because once again, we're in a new era where we don't just vote for rich people. People can't just buy the way to the presidency. People have to be populist in order to win. They have to be grassroots in order to win. So that was Michael Bloomberg's case. Now with Elizabeth Warren's case, did I like her? Yeah, I think I overall approved of her, but just not too much, because I just saw her as like the half-measure version of Bernie Sanders. Like if Bernie Sanders were to say, I am for abolishing all of your Medicare debt, she would say, I'm for half of it, guys. I'm like him, but not as progressive. So you can't really win the presidency by saying, hey guys, so if you think Bernie's too extreme, vote for me. Because I am the second most progressive candidate. You can't win a nomination by being the second most of something. You have to be more distinct, clear. And she struggled to find her spot. Because at times she would act like a centrist, at times she would act like a progressive. So it was just confusing because you didn't know exactly where she stood on the issues. And it made me think of her as a Sanders copycat. You have to thank my mom for that. She came up with that nickname when we were discussing Warren's campaign. And the reason why I think she was a copycat was her record just doesn't show she's a progressive. She used to be a Republican. She voted for the Iraq War. What's another one? She voted to nominate Ben Carson for Trump's cabinet. She voted to increase Trump's military budget, and she supported Hillary Clinton in 2016. She didn't endorse Bernie Sanders. She endorsed Hillary Clinton. So those 5 things just prove the fact that she's a progressive. And it shows that she has a pretty mixed record. But then she said, oh, look, people like progressives. I should run like a progressive. But she didn't want to go too far to the left because she can't outflank Bernie Sanders. So she had to just put herself in this awkward second most progressive slot of the presidential race. And that just didn't work. And that's the reason why I supported Bernie over her. He's just much more consistent. There's barely anything you can pull out of his record and say, hey, this is bad, because he has a very consistent record. His whole life he's been fighting for populism and has been to the left. With her, it's like she was to the right, then to the center, then to the right, to the left, and just all over the place. So it isn't as believable to see her running for president as a progressive than it is to see Bernie Sanders. So, yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. Quick summary, quick synopsis. Michael Bloomberg drops out right after Super Tuesday. He only won American Samoa. He was expecting to win some southern states, but he wasn't able to. I didn't like his personality. I didn't really like his policies. He tried to buy his way to the presidency, and I'm happy he's dropped out. Warren drops out on March 5th, 2 days after Super Tuesday, after not winning any states. I overall liked it, but just not as much as Bernie Sanders, because I saw it as a bit less consistent. I was about to say a bit less inconsistent, which would have been a compliment, but whatever. There's a blooper. I don't like to edit out bloopers. So, see you guys later, and bye. By the way, tell me in the comment section down below when you believe Tulsi Gabbard will drop out of the presidential race. Because right now she's just staying in, and I have no idea why.